Hi, love leaders. It's Dr. Shannon Roberts, your host for the Love Leading Podcast, where we discuss how to create connection in your most important relationship that God designed, bringing health and sometimes healing while deepening intimacy. Welcome to the show. Hello, love leaders. Welcome to the Love Leading Podcast. Hi, I am Dr. Shannon, and I host you today on this episode as we are continuing the conversation about the Intimacy for Life method. It's been taking you through the process of my book, Naked and Exposed, and we are on the last area of relationship building, building resilient rhythms in your relationship that keep the relationship in a good path, enhancing relationship satisfaction and counteracting a lot of times the stressors of what life brings us in long-term relationship, love and romance. We're in area number 2 today of the bucket of the Intimacy for Life. If you missed the last one, in the last episode, we really went into a deepening of your emotional engagement, really sharing life together from an emotional and mental perspective. And today, we are introducing how do we enhance the relationship from a more behavioral, physical component, and that is becoming each other's recreational and leisure partners together. I think this is extremely intuitive in its approach because a lot of times we are initially attracted by the things we enjoy going to do. A lot of times when I talk to my couples in their love stories, they will have stories about how in the beginning they enjoyed, a certain sport together or different activities together, or whether it be travel or an area of interest and passion. And that's how they kind of dated and spent time together out in the relationship. And they have really great stories of how that all got started. But it's also a counterbalance to the emotional engagement, because a lot of times women really enjoy that part of the relationship, going in kind of deeper beyond surface. And this week, a lot of times is what I find is for the male component, I know this is a profile gender kind of bias, but it vets out in the research that, men really like to bond through shared experiences. They really enjoy having a partner in crime, in adventures or risk-taking or fun. They really enjoy this part of the relationship. And inevitably, a lot of times what I find in my working with my couples is that whether it's through just relationship time in the beginning of the relationship, let's be honest, we have discretionary time that we get to spend, or it has to be intentionally carved out for us to actually see together, be together. And so after, marriage, we are seeing each other and spending time together without intentionality. It just is a natural built-in of cohabitating together. And so over time, things kind of vie for the urgency, right, of our time. Time is a commodity. And so we add to, the equation of the relationship, asset management. We purchase a home and that requires upkeep. We progress in our career path, which requires a lot more intentionality and priority and time spent. And then we add sometimes the family component. And let's be honest, kids are 24/7. And so the thing that gets etched out a lot of times with relationships is just that time frame in which we can dedicate solely just being with one another. And there's nothing wrong with that. It does happen. And then unfortunately, there are other components that really erode this part of the relationship too. If there is a higher conflict ratio in the relationship, sometimes the desire or the want to actually go and try to have fun time together gets deprioritized, and that time frame isn't necessarily used for the good of actually experiencing each other, having fun and being warm and um, carefree and free to just be adventuresome. Sometimes that conflict that goes unresolved, or the mismanagement of how to get through those stressors in the relationship, kind of weed out or deoxygenate our desire to want to see each other in the frame of mind of our fun partnership. Or it's not intentional enough that we actually, plan for it. And so we catch when catch can, and we don't really kind of think about, dream about, research, and carve out that time and space where we're going to go spend time with the mindset of just experiencing each other in a whole different way, not as a co-parent, not as a co-household manager, not as but we're actually just friends and partner buddies, kind of thing. So this is an area that we rebuild back in, and quite truthfully, we change over the years. What we used to do together might not be necessarily our area of interest, or something has taken that away. If you used to, surf or go to the beach together, and that's how you, really enjoyed spending your time, and life is kind of altered where you live, then that becomes something that you don't do together as often. Or if you used to be workout buddies or running buddies, and then one or the other or both no longer enjoy that kind of pastime activity, and we haven't researched and been intentional about what has taken the place of what we have common interests in. A lot of times in relationships, when there has been lack of time, lack of intentionality, or lack of want to, we've developed parallel lives in this area. He goes and does this on his own for, his fun leisure time, and she does something different. And so they maybe experience that part of their life apart from each other. And so in the Intimacy for Life method, we really, after we've gone through all of that, and if you haven't talked and experienced through the other episodes, you want to go back and listen to them, because we get to this place after we've done some of those other work. If you've listened to the emotional engagement, you will realize that putting time and intentionality around, the household management and the co-parenting and the co-calendaring and the financial and problem solving, business meetings of the relationship, and then the conflict management part of it, if those are planned for separate times, then we can actually go into these recreational times together kind of free. Like, we don't have to get into the bogged down stressors in our conversations during those are off topic, that we can shift our focus into, this aspect of our relationship, and foundationally get to show up with a different mindset to experience each other as our partners in crime, more or less, and not necessarily have to have discussions about the kids or the home projects that need to go, because that's already been done. And so, and it doesn't mean that we have to go out and spend money, or maybe you do. Sometimes that might mean that you are intentionally just carving in intentionality that tonight we are going to do this activity that we enjoy doing together. We're not going to get on our screens after the kids go to bed. We're going to be purposeful and not getting into that long, drawn out, stressful conversation. That tonight is just really about enjoyment. And it might be that you cook together, or you are, researching your next vacation and planning your vacation together. Research says that thinking about, talking about, planning for, researching times and experiences away, whether it's vacation or a day trip or, an overnight excursion, that those times planning for it are equally as much of an endorphin release and a connection point with one another as actually going and doing it. So that might mean that your recreational partnership in that week is just, staying in and dreaming and planning. And so that's always a fun component of recreational partnership. And a lot of times it's a luxury I get. A lot of times, couples say, of course, for just lack of time, we, have had to carve in this piece of, it being less and less of importance in this chapter of our lives. And so I don't want to make it just about you got to have that date night, because sometimes that, means getting a sitter, and that means more finances and more problem solving. And it might just mean that you do that date night outside of the house, less frequently, but that doesn't mean that you don't carve in intentionality of finding other ways of connecting fun. I have a couple, and they really still enjoy board games. And so they bring out the board games at least once a week, or card games, or, those kinds of things. Other couples talk about, researching different regions of vacationing that they want to eventually do. And so they start gathering information and putting it on the calendar together. And other couples research different restaurant experiences. Here in Tampa, we have a lot of rooftop bars and rooftop restaurants. And so a lot of my couples will say, going and experiencing a new restaurant, and they are foodies and enjoy food. And that might not mean that they go every week, but they might charter their plan. So this part of the relationship is so imperative in the research to counterbalance the stressors that life brings in work and, life management, and not being intentional with making sure that this part happens sometimes doesn't counterbalance those stressors. And then it shifts our want to show up for one another in this kind of capacity. And so, again, becoming, those recreational partners and those leisure partners. And it might mean that you have to get like experimental. That maybe this chapter of your life means you begin talking about what are some area of interest, and maybe we don't know. I know that most of you have heard by this point. If you haven't, you've got your head under a rock somewhere, that the fastest growing sport out there today is pickleball. And I know I live in a temperate climate that this can be played year round, but I'm understanding that this is a very fun way of, and non-strenuous and not as athletic as you need to be through the course of your life together, a good sport that can go into even, all kinds of chapters of your life. So I know a lot of couples are taking pickleball lessons together and going and experiencing this, and that can be with other couples, or it can be even just individually, that you show up and you just kind of work your way into meeting new people. But I do want to caution, though, that not all of your, partnering in leisure, because this is another area that a lot of couples say that maybe they've made a little bit of a mistake on, that all of their fun has either been planned with other couples, which is absolutely necessary, having a community of support and, fun people together is important, but it can't replace the priority of spending alone time together. Or some couples say, to fit it all in, Dr. Shannon, quite honestly, if we're going to go do something, we really feel like it's necessary to do it as a family. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But again, not to the detriment that it deprioritizes actual time together just as a couple. So I would want you to do both, ideally, and maybe it's not nearly as often as you would like or even want, but definitely just as important to balance it, that you are spending equally as much time together, that you get to say, this is what we do together. This is what we got to experience together. And it not be just, stories of the past, but it's stories that you're experiencing ongoing. And so this is the part of the counseling process that really gets fun, because now we get to really, we've cleared out all the conflict, we've cleared out all the management of the stressors in a different kind of way. And now we get to do foundational rebuilding of, what do you want this to look like? What do you want to be known as the couple that does what together? And so dreaming again, experiencing again, exploring again. And this is where kind of couples begin to light up. And quite honestly, most of the men really like this component, that they get their friend back within the relationship, experiencing the ability just to relax and have a good time. A lot of times I do hear the men say, gosh, it's been so long since we've laughed together or had fun together, or I get to see her lightheartedness again, or counterbalance with, man, I saw my man just like take on and conquer something. It was really great to see him show me or teach me. And they like that component a lot of times. So recreational and leisure partnering is a definitive component of those couples that have intimacy for life over the course and continue to deepen and enhance relationship satisfaction. So that is your challenge today, love leaders. Go and have fun. And until next time, we are going into the next component of the rhythms of healthy couples that really enjoy intimate connection over the course of a lifetime. We'll see you next time.